For years, we've all been sold the same piece of advice. The secret to creativity is to think outside the box. But what if it's just plain wrong? Today, we're going to dig into a really powerful counterargument that true mastery, real genius, comes from doing the exact opposite.
And this quote gets right to the heart of it. This is the core provocative idea from the material we're looking at. The suggestion that maybe everything we've been taught about breaking rules and shattering norms, well, it might just be a big misunderstanding that's actually holding us back.
So that begs a huge question, right? If freedom isn't out there in the wild, breaking away from everything, then where do you find it? The answer, as we're about to see, comes from completely reframing what we think the box even is.
Okay, let's start by just tearing down this slogan. The argument here is that thinking outside the box is a phrase that sounds good, but it's for people who don't really get how powerful, effective systems are actually built. It's a nice idea that kind of crumbles when things get serious.
And this is absolutely crucial. When you reject all structure, the result isn't freedom. It's just chaos. It's wasted energy. Without some kind of frame to work in, all that creativity and strength just wanders around aimlessly, solving the wrong problems. So if the box isn't the enemy, then what is it? It's time to redefine this whole concept. We need to stop seeing it as a prison and start seeing it for what it is, a seriously powerful tool.
On one side, you have the myth we're all taught. The box is oppression, it's blind authority, it's just doing things the old way because that's how they're done. But the reality? The reality is that the box is just the fundamental rules of the game. Things like physics or biology or maybe the specific structures that you consciously choose to operate within. Let's really lock this new definition in. The box is your chosen operating environment. See, it's not just something that's forced on you. It's a system you agree to play inside. And by defining the boundaries, it's the very thing that makes any kind of progress or achievement even possible. And this brings us to the masters, the elite, the top performers in any field. They don't get to the top by ignoring the rules. No way. They get there by understanding those rules better than anyone else. Let me give you a few quick examples. Right? An engineer doesn't just pretend gravity isn't a thing. They master the laws of physics so they can build something incredible because of those laws, not in spite of them. And a surgeon can't just ignore how the human body is put together. Their skill, their mastery, comes from an incredibly deep, almost intuitive knowledge of that very system. And a musician doesn't just throw away rhythm and harmony. They master music theory so deeply that they can create something beautiful and new inside that framework. They master the constraints first. And this is the key to everything. Real innovation, the truly groundbreaking stuff, doesn't happen by pretending the rules don't exist. It happens right at the very edge of those rules. But you can't even find that edge, let alone push it, unless you've gone deep, deep into the system itself. So how does this actually help you? What's the tangible payoff? This is where we see that limits aren't just something you have to deal with. They're actually something you can use. This right here is the fundamental mindset shift. The amateur looks at the rules and just gets frustrated. They're annoying obstacles. But the professional, the master, they understand that those exact same rules can be used as leverage to be faster, stronger, and more efficient. So what does that leverage actually look like? Well, a well-defined box reduces your cognitive load. It frees up brain power for the real work. It creates accountability so you always know where you stand. It gives you clear, immediate feedback. It lets you build skills that are repeatable, turning luck into a reliable process. And it forces you to be precise. This is such a powerful chain of events. A box, a constraint, forces you to make trade-offs, right? You can't do everything. Those trade-offs force you to set priorities, to decide what's most important. And over time, the priorities you keep choosing, they reveal what you truly value. Limits are how you discover what actually matters. All right, let's get practical. How do we actually apply all of this? This isn't about blind obedience to rules. It's about being strategic and really conscious about the systems you operate in. So, here's the big move. The goal isn't to live without a box. That's a fantasy, and it's totally ineffective. The real power move is to consciously select your box. Whether that's a career, a creative practice, a relationship, you choose the environment and the set of rules you want to master. And you can think of this table as your toolkit.
Inside any box, there are really only three types of rules. First, you have the inviolable ones, like physics. You have to master these, there's no way around them. Then you have the flexible rules. This is where innovation lives. You learn them so you can bend them. And finally, you have the illusions, the rules that only exist because no one's bothered to question them. These are the ones you're meant to break. A master knows which is which. This is so important. You know that feeling when you start something new? It feels awkward and restrictive. A lot of people quit right there, thinking that friction means it's a bad fit. But that's discomfort is just the feeling of learning. Mastery is what happens when you push through that phase, until the whole system starts to feel less like a cage and more like a playground you can navigate with total ease. Now, of course, this doesn't mean you should stay in a broken system forever. You have to know when to leave. But you do it strategically. You leave when the rules no longer reward skill, when the structure actually punishes you for having integrity, or when the limits are just blocking your growth instead of shaping it. You don't leave out of frustration, you leave with purpose. And here's a final thought on what this means for who we are. If your sense of self, your identity, just crumbles the second it runs into a rule or a deadline or any kind of resistance, it was never that strong to begin with. A real, durable identity is one that can actually thrive inside a structure. So, it really all boils down to this one simple shift. Stop complaining about your limits, stop seeing constraints and rules as the enemy, start seeing them as tools, as leverage. That is the path to mastery. Which leaves us with one final big question, and this one's for you. As you look at your life, your career, your craft, what is the box, the operating environment that you are going to consciously choose and then dedicate yourself to mastering from the inside out?